What's going on, everybody? Had a change of plans this morning. Yesterday they were calling for rain like they always do. I think it was 30, 40, 50% chance. Then it blew up yesterday afternoon. Said it was going to rain pretty hard this morning from about 9 to 12. I pulled an audible, decided to go ahead and hold off. Got the boat loaded up, got all the gear ready. Decoys are in, ready to roll. Went ahead and pulled it out this morning and decided I did not want to get everything soaking wet day one right off the bat. I'm off tomorrow. It's going to get cold and windy and be really good goose hunting, so decided I'd hold off. Instead, I need to tie some flies. I'm actually out of one of my favorite streamers, the rusty trombone. I've been catching some bass down here at the dock and stuff like that, out in this area with it, and at the marina. So I need to tie some more of those. Figured it's a good opportunity to show you guys how I do that. I put a little twist on it. I change out some stuff, so you can rock the normal one. I'm gonna tie the normal, just regular rusty trombone. Sometimes I'll throw some crystal flashing in it to kind of mix it up a little bit. I'll kind of show you guys what that looks like, or tie one in a later video. But yeah, let's hop inside and get started on that. All right, y'all, welcome back inside. So let's go ahead and get started. This is my favorite streamer to use. It is a very all-around productive streamer for multi-species, from trout, bass, all sorts of things. It really kind of targets a lot. It's a great looking fly in the water. So the rusty trombone, like the musical instrument. This is a great streamer to rip for brown trout. My buddy Colt out in Colorado, he's the one that showed me how to tie this. You can look him up on Colt as the Rockies on Instagram. The dude, I believe he still guides out in Wyoming. Definitely going to link back up with him in the next few years. Looking forward to that. Colt, I'll see you soon, brother. But let's go ahead and jump into this. I'm going to go ahead and go over the materials real quick, so you guys, when you want to tie this, you're not having to stop and get the material as you go, or watch through it and get the material. So basically, we're starting out with size 4 streamer hook from Umpqua Series X. We are using, our head is going to be a, I believe this is a 6 millimeter cone copper head. For our collar, we're going to be using a Flashabou, basically a flashing dubbing copper color. That's just for the collar. For the body, we're going to use another style of dubbing. It's more of a green and brown ice dubbing. And then for the real breakaway for this fly, to make it really good, I like to go with a long strand copper flashing. It's really small and thin, just to give it a little bit of pack. The legs are going to be a pumpkin and orange silly leg, the black and orange. And our Marabou is going to be this lovely sculpin olive. I love this color. It's almost like a brown tint, more or less than a hardcore olive color. I like it. It's really nice, really nice. So those are pretty much the materials, aside from a 6/0 bead. A brown bead is what we're going to use for basically when we attach. And you need some style of strong line, like monofilament's really good. You don't have to go this heavy. I like going heavy. I just had a big fish rip the back end off of one of these about 3 days ago. So I'm going to bump it up a little bit. I was using 25 pound. This is 50. Basically, this is the max size that I can get inside of this eye. So that's what we're going to go with. Those are our materials. Let's go ahead and jump on into this bad boy. It's a pretty lengthy fly to tie. There's a lot of steps, so don't feel like you're going to get too overwhelmed with it. First thing you want to do is go ahead and snip off a tail of your Marabou. Rule of thumb, don't get too crazy, don't get too big, but also don't go too thin. When this stuff gets wet, it really thins out, so you want to get a little bit more than what you need to make sure you cover everything, and it gets that really good fishy look and good flow once it hits the water. So the length of our tail, what we're going to do is pretty much measure the shank of our hook. Our entire hook length is what our tail is going to be. You don't want to go too long or it's going to kind of look all cattywampus. So about right there is where we're going to set in. I'm going to go ahead and snip off the rest of it. That way I'm not dealing with too much stuff. Well, take that back, scratch that. What you want to do with this, since it's the back end and it's the body, you don't have a lot of bulking material to do. So go ahead and just tie it straight in. Tie it straight in, and I'll show you a little trick once you to kind of help build that body up, because that can be a problem, is disproportionate body lengths and styles from the front and the back, because this is an articulated fly. So this is a two-part fly. First part, I'm going to show you guys how to tie all of this. The second part, I'm going to speed through the part that I'm doing right now. I'm going to fast forward it because just to save time on the video. But there are some parts of that fly, of the front part, that are definitely different than the back. So back end first. This is the rear section of the fly. So you have, like I said, this is an articulated fly. You got two parts. This is going to be the rear section. We're going to start off with it. So Marabou's the length of the hook, pinch it off, lay it on top, give a really good tight first wrap, crank it on down. Right where you want it. Once you get it seated in, you see how there's like a rear end, you can see the back end of the hook bend. Just go ahead and start following that on back till you get to the bend of the hook. Once you do, go ahead and stop. From there, I'll kind of pinch everything on top and jump wrap way ahead, just to kind of fold everything down a little bit more around the hook. And you don't want to snip that body. What the reason is that there's your bulk. That's all your bulk that you needed. You just want to take a little bit off of it, just to match the length of the hook. Not all the way to the eye, but right before. See how I kind of snipped it, and you can still see the eye of the hook a little bit. But just go ahead and wrap that back, mash that down a little bit. And there is your bulk that you needed. That is going to match the front of the fly. That's going to save you a lot of thread, a lot of time, a lot of dubbing material, and a lot of headache. Next thing we want to do, y'all, I forgot about the hackle in the material list. So this is the last thing, I promise, that I did not mention. You just want, I'm using a, it's kind of like a, I guess like a olive and black striped hackle. It's got a more of a yellow tint, but don't worry about that. That's not a big deal. It's really going to look nice. It's going to throw some different contrast in with the fly as well. Plus it's got some darker sections in here too. So I'm going to go ahead and get two of these snipped off, because you're going to need one for each, one for the front, one for the back. Go ahead and snip those bad boys. Like so. Go ahead and get that ready. And we're set. So now that we've got that squared away, we're going to take one of our first pieces of our hackle. I like to brush it down and brush it out. That way you can kind of see what you're working with. It gives you a point to tie in as well. Brush that all the way down. All of these kind of soft, more of a CDC material, you want to take that out of there. There we go. That soft hackle, get all that stuff out of there. All right. Now we're cooking. So this little tip, all we're going to do is tie it into the back of the fly right in front of the marabou. It doesn't matter if it's on top, on the bottom, on the side, wherever is easiest for you to get it in. It really does not matter at all. And once that's tied in, I like to tuck this in behind my lever of my vise to kind of keep it out of the way. Now, we're going to go with the dubbing. Actually, first, let's go ahead and get the legs wrapped in, because I like to get this thing some motion. So about 3/4 of the way up the fly, not all the way to the front, about 3/4 of the way up is where you want to tie your legs in. So we'll grab two of these bad boys. And I'll show you a trick with these things too, to keep them out of your way while you're wrapping your body. Because for the new guys out there that are tying flies, and again, I am no expert, but for you new guys, there are tips and tricks that you don't think about for a hot second, until you tie several flies and figure out something that's easy, a good technique to kind of work through some problems you're going to have. So we're going to set that in on top, set the legs in, make sure they're the same length. They're both going to be angled back. I like to go ahead and angle them. It doesn't really matter. They don't have to, it's not like a chubby where you want them sitting at certain directions, sticking straight out, some sticking forward. This is just, everything's going to be fluent with the fly. So as long as you get them wrapped in there, you're good. And then we'll hop back here in the back and get our thread ready for our dubbing, basically our body of the fly. Just to give it some flash up under that hackle is all we're doing. Okay, so now with the body of the fly, we're going to take off, pinch off some dubbing, about yay much. You got to go pretty good ways. You got to go the whole body. So, you know, don't be shy. Don't be afraid to kind of really give it a good chunk to kind of spread out in there. Let's see here, a little bit better of a section. Spread this stuff out. What you want to do is kind of stretch it, set it around that, and spin in one direction, y'all. Some of you guys will get on here and do this number. You're not helping yourself. If you spin in one direction, I know it doesn't seem like it at first, but it will stay on there a whole heck of a lot better. It's easier to get it tight wrapped like this if you spin like that, but it doesn't stay on, and it'll split off of the thread for you. Slide that all the way up. I'm going to go ahead, and since we've got it on there, you can now stretch it even further down to extend that, because it doesn't have to be massive. Remember, we already built up the body. We don't have to. All we're doing is covering. We're just covering that nasty Marabou look. All right, so now that we've got it spread out, let's go ahead and wrap that down. And like I said, in the front fly, guys, I'm going to speed through this, so don't worry about that. Don't worry about having to sit through. All right, now we're just going to wrap forward. All the way forward on our fly. Like so. And you can have some little gaps, because you're going to have that hackle is going to cover up some stuff. Like I got a little top section you can probably see right here that's not covered, but everything else looks pretty good. So we're rocking and rolling. All right, now let's go ahead and wrap this puppy in. So our hackle is going to go on. And start wrapping that stuff forward. And if you can, bend this stuff back as you wrap to try to keep it in one direction. That way, everything flows. That's the main thing with this fly is flow. You want it to look like everything kind of belongs. Everything's gonna look nice when it's swimming in the river. That brown trying to go up and whack him. Once you get it all the way up, get everything up to it, just kind of fold that stuff back. And you don't have to worry about the head of this back end. It's going to get covered up. That's the cool part. This end can be nasty if you want. It does not matter. You're going to have another Marabou tail that is going to cover every bit of this up. Just like so. Go ahead and snip that little hard part of that feather. Snip him off. And we're going to wrap a few. Now, here's where I like to get a little fancy with it. This is where we like to add a little extra, you know, something with the trombone. So what we're going to do is basically we are going to throw in some of this copper Flashabou. It's really thin copper flashing, and I'm going to show you guys a trick with this stuff. This stuff is thin. It is small, but it's got some length to it. It's got the right length. So pull out a little bit, not too much, not too crazy. Try to grab the middle of it and then just spin. Once you do, it should line up for you, and then you can kind of spin it out to where you can use this stuff pretty easily. You got a little strand of it, just like so. Boom. Now we're going to look at half of it. It's about halfway point. Lay it in. Give ourselves a little wrap over the top. Just like so. And then we're going to kind of lift it on top. Part either ways. One side, one way. I like to go, I'm left-handed, so I go left, forward, back, right. and make sure they're the same length. And once you've got them the same length, fold back and wrap it. Boom. And now once that stuff comes undone, you're going to have a nice, sleek little copper siding going down that fly, and it's going to give it some really good action, give it some good look to it. So let's go ahead and whip finish this because we are done with this section of the fly. Just try not to get any of your hackle feathers like I just did. Now halfway done. This is an extensive fly, y'all. This thing takes a minute. It's not a quick tie, but it's a fun tie, and it looks really good when you're done. Ooh, this thing looks so good. All right, take our razor blade. We're gonna tap our thread. Now we can set this part aside. Basically, what you have is a woolly booger, a fancy woolly booger with some legs on it. So we're gonna hang that up right here. Hang that aside. Step to our next hook. Now what we need to do is go ahead and put our cone head on, which I thought I had one sitting out, but I could be wrong. I'm delusional half the time anyways. So here we go. These cone heads add a lot of weight to your fly too. It makes it really easy to cast. It's not one of those wind dragging flies where it just hangs up out there when you're trying to cast and then it doesn't really get any distance for you. This thing will shoot. All right, boom. So we got our head on. Now here's the part that I'm going to show you guys that's different from the back, where you got to go ahead and get your fishing line tied in, or your whatever you're going to use. I mean, you can use steel lead if you want to. Really doesn't matter. Just you don't want it to be big and bulky. You don't want it to really hold up that back end. So now that I've got that tied in, I'm going to go ahead and lay one end down. And I like to push it all the way forward to hold that cone head up, but you got to have this thing sitting right on top. So you want your rear connecting line right on top of that, so the tail will be in line with the rest of the fly. I was a knucklehead and I bought basically hooks with the horizontal eyes on them instead of the vertical. Vertical will work better because it will lay with it. It'll lay more streamlined with the fly. So now that we've got that in there, I'm gonna go ahead and send a few wraps up just to kind of lock that in. And we can go ahead and add on our beads. These beads are gonna add spacing, and it really helps keep the tail in line. I use these brown beads, especially on a trombone. It goes really well with the copper, and you can't really tell that they're in there once the fly is sitting on. So you'll see that here in 1 second. So let me go ahead and pop this tail of that fly on, get that second bead in there. There's that, and now we're ready to lay our tail down. So same thing as before. I want to see the distance of this, see what it's going to look like. That's a little bit too far back, so I want it to be about right there is where I want it. So I'm going to trim off. You can see what you need to trim off with when you lay it up, and stick that right in. A little bit more. There we go. All right, now we're cooking. Just like so. All right, so lay that right on top. Same thing as before. Once you get that set in on top, then you're cooking. I'm gonna roll on back. And that's just gonna hold your cone head in place as well. So now you can really keep that line on top and wrap back to that other wrap. Just like so. And now we've got our tail in. Boom. Just like that. Perfect. All right. Now comes the fun part. The tail end. This is basically the same part. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through this section. It's going to be very fast. Same thing we did with the back fly, and I'm going to slow it down once we get to a new part. Okay. I'll catch you guys when we slow it down. right, y'all, so we've got everything wrapped in just like we did the first, or the back part, the first section. Everything's wrapped in, looking good. Now, let's move on. So what we want to do first is wrap in our collar section. That's going to be, well, I'm sorry, let's go ahead and put our cap on. Let's do that. Let's put our cap on, and then we'll wrap in our collared section. So our cap is not going to be near, so basically the wing section, I call it the cap. It's going to go over the top of the fly. It's pretty much the wing casing. It's going to sit on top, right above it. You don't need a lot, not near as much as the tail, just because you don't want it going extending way too long. You just want it to be kind of a wing casing top on it. And what I like to do, you can lay that, don't worry about your hackle on top. It is what it is. It's going to fall down above it. It's going to look amazing. It's going to build up body. I'm going to tie that right on top, just like so. You can see that hard little area. I'm going to snip that off. I'll crank that on down, just like that. Don't worry about that little fuzzy area. We're about to cover that up. It's all going to get covered. So right now our fly is starting to come into shape. So what we're going to do is basically take some more of that really thin flashing, that copper flashing. Same amount as we use on the back end, we're going to use on the front end. Same thing, spin it out, make it work for you, make it easy, just like so. There we go. Find our middle section. It doesn't matter if it's wrapped on top, side, whatever, because you're just going to wrap twice, pull back over the top where you can see how much you've got, pinch on the sides, and tighten that in. And you can wrap, see how I came back just a little bit? You can do that. Don't feel like you can't wrap back on it, like you're going to pinch some of your hackle, because we're going to put a really sexy little collar on this thing. It's going to really tie everything in together. Yeah. If you want to, you can take a piece of foam. My buddy Colt also pointed this out to me. That back hook, if you get tired of getting stuck with it, just take you a piece of foam that you use for like your chubby, stick it in there, and you won't get hooked anymore. Okay, now we're going to go on to the collar. This stuff can be a little bit tricky. What you got to do, make a dubbing loop rather than spinning the dubbing on. Just going to make you a dubbing loop. Let that hang, and then take your dubbing twister tool, set that down, get you a somewhat decent amount of this Flashabou dubbing. It's copper Flashabou. This stuff is really short, so it could fall out on you. This can be a pain in the butt to use, just a heads up. Twist it on in there. Kind of slide it up a little bit. Go ahead and wrap it on in. I want to use a little more than that. I'm going to let my dubbing loop spin out. Grab a little bit more. You just want to make a nice collar on this thing that's going to cover up all your wraps. About the same amount I grabbed before, we're going to double that. Just give her a good twist. And you don't have to pull your thread back. Just make sure your side copper flashing doesn't get tangled up in it. And just wrap her on forward just like so. And then you can let it hang. Give her about 2 wraps around, just like that. And you can take this twister tool, go ahead and clip it off. This is where your razor blade comes in handy, because you're not snipping, you're just touching. All right, once you do that, go ahead and give her a whip finish. I like to do 2 of them, 4 wraps a pop. Let it slide in there behind that cone head. touch it with the razor blade. And that is the rusty trombone. Great fly. And pop our foam off. Boom. That right there will catch a bunch of bass. It will catch a bunch of trout. It's an amazing pattern to use. It looks great in the water. It casts really well. It is it's one of my favorites for sure. I definitely have a bunch of them in my box. I always keep a bunch of them in my box. I will always have a bunch of these. Great fly, guys. So yeah, I'm gonna tie another kind of a modification. I like to put a little bit of ice dubbing in this thing in the body to make it look a little bit better. I say better, give it a little bit different presentation. But yeah, that's it, y'all. Drop a like in the comments, subscribe. I will catch you in the next tying video. Until then, keep it real, y'all.